Yeah, obviously my name's Graham Avery, and I've been in the coating industry now, I can't believe it actually, um, since 1984. So it suddenly dawned on me in 24 that I've been in the industry for 40 years, which I have to say has gone through a very, very quick time. So I'm just going to reflect on that now because the journey I've come on is, to me, is absolutely perfect for our industry. And so I'm going to start with, in 84, I was basically looking to get into sales. And I got into sales, thankfully, to a company called LG Harris, which was a major company that sold paintbrushes and rollers and all sorts of sundries to decorators and to the DIY network. My job was on the trade, where I'd be looking at selling to decorators, painting contractors. I'd also go into factories as well, and be plenty of companies many years ago. One was called Pendelphin, I remember that, in Nelson, and there's lots of ladies in the factory that are all using these lovely sable paintbrushes to paint these lovely little rabbits and stuff. To go into factories such as the cotton mills, we used to sell seconds brushes there, where they used to just clean the machines down with them. But the trade was a hard job, actually, because the structure was built on new business all the time. So what it did do is it learnt me at the beginning to cold call, to go and meet people that I didn't know and introduce myself, and then introduce the products and hopefully open them up as a new account. And I stayed with that job for just less than 2 years, and then I seen an advertisement in the paper that there was a company called MacDoodle Rose, which has a different name nowadays. It's called Dulux Decorating Centres. It was a subsidiary of Dulux at the time, so that was an attraction to me, a big name, Dulux being probably the biggest name in coatings in the UK. And what I thought was, it gave me a bigger scope of product range, and I was very interested about I was still calling on to the painter and decorators and contractors, but I was then able to sell them a bigger package. So I could sell them paint, whether it was the Dulux system that they were selling. There was obviously other contract emulsions that they used to sell, but I could also sell the rollers, the brushes and wall coverings. I worked on a smaller territory around the Lancashire and Manchester area, and I did that quite successfully. And if I say that myself, I'm not being big-headed, but I worked hard. I already had a sort of customer base, which they had, and what I had as well. But I just sort of grew the business on a regular basis. They used to do promotions, which was good, because at the times the mortgage rate was around about 15%, I think, and I needed to earn as much money as I could. And so these promotions that came up were always very good, and so I used to work hard to make sure that I won these promotions. But at head office at that time, which was at Timperley near Altrincham, there was a company called AXO at the time, and they were trying to get into MacDoodle Rose as a paint supplier. And one of the guys a guy called Bill Dickinson, they seen my name on top of these lists, and he was asking about me. And so after a short period of time, I was sort of contacted by AXO, sort of headhunted in a way. They met me, they liked what I was doing, and they was keen on me joining them. And I felt as though I was really looking to get the thing that I was really looking for, was to work with a manufacturer, a paint manufacturer, not a distributor, which I thought that MacDoodle was. So I actually became part of the AXO at the time. It's you would now know it as AXO Nobel. But at the time, we had a fantastic product range, which was Permaglaze, Santex for masonry, and Sickens. And Sickens was a great specification product and a fantastic wood stain and an opaque range on the Rubol. I really enjoyed this job because I was given a small territory. I used to work around the Stockport area, Cheshire, and then obviously just border onto the Stoke and Stafford area. So it was SK and ST postcodes. But I had a collection of customers, from big painting contracts like Seddons to big distributors like Dixon's, and then to the small one-man bands and smaller painting contractors. So I had a really broad mix of customers, which I thrived on, to be honest, and established myself quite well in these two territories. Then during the part of the Northwest, which I was one of the representatives, an area came up for Lancashire and also Cumbria, which was extremely exciting for me because I felt as though to work around Cumbria and parts of Lancashire, it was feeling like I was working and I was enjoying myself and getting paid for it, as well as having a great job. And what I did was I always sort of wanted to get into more of, instead of the direct selling to the end user and the decorators and stuff, I really wanted to try and get involved with specification. And AXO were really keen on specification at the time as well, because they had such great products. Santex was the market leader. Permaglaze was a very good professional paint, such as emulsions, glosses, eggshells. But also the crown jewel for me was the Sickens, because that was being established behind the scenes, because I was trade guy and then we had a specification team. I wanted to really get involved with that. And what the company did, they sort of changed my role for being a trade guy to a combination rep, it was called in them days. And that allowed me then to obviously to continue doing the trade and the selling, but also to talk to architects, to talk to local authorities about the importance of specification. The specification was to go to see the building, inspect it, put the specification down, and it was a guide, a step-by-step guide for the decorator to follow. And what it did, it gave the client, whether it's a local authority, the comfort knowing that if the decorator turns up and prices and applies the job in line with the manufacturer's specification, then it's going to last. So as I was getting into the specification, I wasn't doing so good actually, because I was trying to be more direct and trying to sell something to the specifier. So my manager at the time, Kevin, he decided to put me with one of the colleagues, Tony Alderson, who was well established on the north side, around Norwich and Norfolk, all going down to the Essex side of the country. And I spent a few days in the road with him, and that was just mind-blowing, his experience, the way he handled an architect. And I learned so much of that I put virtually what he did into my own way of being a representative of the company. And so on one side you was specifying, on another side you was giving advice on specification, and then my knowledge was coming more about application, and then I was getting involved with more things. And then I started to get into, I found that there was joinery companies that may be looking to get involved with Sickens at the time. So I started to then try and sell Sickens into the joinery industry, and nobody was really doing that from our territory. And I was selling 20-litre drums, and it was good value for us at the time. But I also started to get involved with, I loved the aspects of going into a joinery shop and the smell, looking at different timbers, whether it's hardwood, sapele, utility, or softwoods, or, you know, obviously oaks. And then I was looking at the design of windows, and there's obviously conservatory manufacturers. And So I then started to feel as though I felt as though I had enough experience to try and get a job within the joinery industry. So Sickins had a joinery team, which was only 2 guys working the whole of the UK, looking at really big companies like Magnet, Blair's, Allen Brothers, John Carr was a big player at the time as well. And they sort of had the country split into 2. One would do the east, one would do the west. But the business was growing, and they were looking for some new blood. So I got a job, and they also offered a guy called Douglas to run around Scotland. And this really got me into a different world of selling. And what was important was the fact that I needed knowledge. I learned a lot of knowledge myself, but I also learned on the job. And what it did do is it learned me how to understand timber and timber design. And then we was also getting involved with the fact that we was pushing fully factory finish. What the industry was doing many years ago, it was just basically used to have a base stain or a primer on the windows and doors, and then they'd be going out to site and fitted on site, which causes no end of problems. But at the time, the timber industry, the timber window industry, was getting some really serious competition from the UPVC windows. They were selling it as a sort of one-pot hit, really, with maintenance free. That word still hangs around today, maintenance free, and nothing's maintenance free. And but that caught the timber industry cold, and it was on the decline. But the industry did came back, and there was many different people that brought these things together and to bring in the BWF, which has been formed for many years now. And then fully factory finishing came through, and then what you got with the fully factory finish was eliminated the fact that trades were coming on site. And again, with the weather that we get in the UK, it's very difficult for a painter and decorator wanting to turn up to do the job and he can't because it's raining. So the advantage there was fully factory finish. Then they also came in with special colours. There was really pastel colours which came through. Farrow and Ball was really had a great colour range out there, but also the NCS colour range, the RAL colour range, the British Standards, translucents with different colours, different shades from light oak to teaks and mahoganies. All were very popular. And from that, that's where I really felt as though my job was becoming more technical, as well as being able to sell as well. Because you're looking after factories, you're looking after companies that have been trading for years, and it was important that these things were right. I spent many years with the Sickins, and then obviously I was attracting attention from the competition, which was Technos. I met up with Peter Hubbard and Peter McArdle on the service on the A1 at Ferry Bridge. I remember it very well, actually. And they convinced me that the way forward was to join them, so I did. And I have to say that I did enjoy Technos. I thought I learnt a lot with Sickins, but when I went with Technos, I learnt a tremendous more. And what I did then, in the 3 years that I worked with Technos, it was going from strength to strength. I was given Ireland to Northern Ireland to work, as well as the territory of the North. I used to love going over there. We set a business up over there, LA Cook, and we was going out there. I used to go over there on a regular basis 2 or 3 times every couple of months to establish them and to open new business, and obviously to teach the guys over there about our products. So for 3 years, I really enjoyed Technos and my colleagues, and but Sickins came back for me. They wanted me to join them, and so I considered it, and I decided to go back to Sickins again, believe it or not. And so I stayed with Sickins for many years, really. And in that meantime, Axo was an Axo Nobel. It had a bigger range. Fast forwarding, they had to sell part of the business off because they was buying Dulux, once they bought Dulux, which was a massive beast, when it came together, a lot of people went. I survived. I was still with the Sickens brand, but we was put then into the industrial side of the of Axona Bell. We was based in Shadsworth, so we worked out of there, and but we had the Sickens product, but we also had a Swedish product, which was an industrial product from Malmo, and they came together really because when one product had a weakness, the other one had a strength. So you would sell both of these into the market. So I had a really, really good time, but things were changing for me. I did really want to work for myself. I felt as though I could work for myself. I felt as though I could start my own business, and I did that. I left Axona Bell, and so I put my notice in basically, and I was 55 at the time, and I just really wanted to become self-employed. So I took a chance, and I did do that, and I got involved with some companies. I tried to get involved with a company called Drywood to be a technical sales guy, but self-employed for them. They were looking at more of a distributor. Anyway, what came together was the fact that they would offer me an option to work with Miton, which is a hardware company in Cambridge, very nice business actually, who were looking to add paint to the range. But I also was start to get involved with CU, and CU became really good for me, working with Alan, and we was doing exhibitions up and down the country together, and to get the whole brand established. We were looking at desperate to get some sites, some site case studies, sorry, but also producing lots of samples, doing advertisements in magazines, and that was really established over a good 10 year to what they are now, which is unbelievable. It's probably the biggest user of CU in the world is the UK market, which I'm glad to still be a part of. But having been through that, I decided I was coming up to into my mid-60s now, and having been in this industry coming up to near 40 years, I felt as though it was a good time for me to retire. But when you think about what I've just spoke about there, you go out every day, you go and see your customers become your friends, your colleagues. The challenges are going into an unknown factory. Nobody knows you. You're going in there, and then you're selling yourself, your product, and coming out of there where you've got an account and you've opened it, and then you drive past it with you're very proud of what you do, and that's how a salesman works really. But I decided at the end that it was a sad day that I obviously resigned from CU, and I really then thought that was the end of me in the coatings world. I gave it a try, but I become bored. I was 63 at the time, and I decided that one of the customers that I'd been looking after for 20 odd years, Stuart, James Hatchinson, asked me why don't I do a small amount of work for them as a sort of technical support for them, obviously working with architects, helping them with the coatings people that they obviously buy the products with, and any site visits that's required. So I did do that, and I started sort of what I've been doing for several years before that. I'd been working with young Fraser, and I remember him very, very enthusiastic coming into the family business, and you know, he's shown that he really did feel as though he was interested in this. So I used to take him out and about with me, and he was asking all sorts of questions, and we seemed to really hit it off. And so it's been 8 years now that I've been his mentor, as you might say, but really to me he's my colleague, but he's also a really nice guy, and he's become a friend, And I do really like Fraser, and I am there to support him as well as his dad and the rest of the family. But they've made me feel welcome, and they've allowed me a job which is so flexible that I can go around architects. We've done some specify, where we've done some, it's a bit like speed dating in a way, where you're speaking to architects very quickly for 10 minutes. Some are interested in coating, some are not, some are high rise. But the general opinion is that the wood still is a big specification tool, and it still will be with the environment and changing. And wood will always need coatings in the UK. So, so I was reflecting over Christmas, because I had a really long break over Christmas. Decided to have the full month off. And I was reflecting on the fact that it is now 2024 was the 40th year of me being a sales guy, but I have to say it's gone through that quickly. I can't believe that it's been 40 years, but 40 years of absolutely full enjoyment, and that's probably said from the heart today. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my CV and my lifestyle, and thank you.